Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined by Don Pizzette, channeling his inner Gordie Howe today. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, gotta celebrate the amazing season the Detroit Red Wings are having.
Is that sarcasm?
Yeah, they're not in last place, so there's that. Yeah, it's something to be
Congratulations.
proud of. But it's also the holiday season for us, so a lot of people are getting ready to take some time off. I'm glad we're getting a chance to jump in and film Technado before the holidays.
All right, and we've got Daniel Lowry with us as well. Daniel, how's it going?
Why do you always ask me questions when we start this thing? Huh?
You're not prepared. You don't have your notes.
Golly.
Yeah.
I got to think about it and reflect upon it, and then I'll get back to you.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. It's a great segue to our guest, who is from Reflectiz, and it is. What did you say something?
No.
Oh, I thought you. Okay.
It was my shocked look.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Even the listeners could see that.
He's interrupting me again.
That's what I do.
All right, we are joined by Idan Cohen, who is the co-founder and CEO over at Reflectiz. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent today. Thanks a lot for having me here.
Yeah, we are excited to have you, and thank you for joining us. I know the time difference, what is like 8 hours or something, so who knows what day it is even where you are.
It's 32 minutes.
As a founder, I'm used to it. For me, the day is all work.
Yeah, get an office with no windows, and then you don't even know is it day.
It's like a Vegas casino.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, carpet that just leads you in different paths and confuses you. All right, well, let's get to know you a little bit more in our first segment, which is rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
Alrighty, Don. In this segment, we are going to rapidly fire questions at you. We'll kind of rotate amongst the hosts here and ask you about your history and company and organization. You will have approximately 1 minute to answer each question, so a little timer will appear off on your right. If you take too long to answer, Peter will buzz you.
I'm actually not going to buzz him because I don't want to buzz anybody that was part of the Israeli military.
Yeah, all right.
So,
that's a good point.
he's a wise man.
So,
I'm not buzzing.
So the rules are off, but we are still going to ask you questions. You can't avoid that. And our first question is coming at you from Peter.
So I just want to know a little bit about the company. So what exactly is Reflectiz, and what makes it unique in an industry where there are so many different companies doing things in cybersecurity?
So Reflectiz is a cybersecurity company that actually helps organizations be protected from third-party code risk. So think about it, you have any website around the world, this website using a lot of code that they didn't create, code that's actually loading stuff from remote servers all around the place. And in Reflectiz, we actually created a solution that automatically detect those applications, automatically tell you if they're creating any risk for you, and protect you when the time you need. And the best part, we're doing it fully remotely. So no installation, no code changes, no production changes. So we actually can give you a value, I think, in just 10 minutes after the first meeting, you've already been protected and ready to go.
I'm always curious about solutions like these because I know web applications are changing so rapidly, right? Like it seemed like overnight everybody had started doing Node.js deployments, or it just shifts from platform to platform. How are you able to adapt to be able to like maintain that same pace when new platforms come out, to be able to profile vulnerabilities and so on?
So it's actually one of the biggest challenges we have today. We want to support so many types of websites, from server side to client side, from Node, from front-end development. And that's actually what we did in Reflectiz. So think about it, that we kind of have a super browser, a very smart browser that can simulate entire user behavior, the best Chrome, best Firefox in the world. And that's help us to just browse any given website around the world. So I don't care if you do it on React or in Angular, or it's your old school ASP.NET. We can support you in any way because I'm the user in that case. And if a user is able to browse to your website, then it means I am able to.
Would you say that was the biggest challenge of getting Reflectiz to do what you needed to do, or is there even bigger mountains to climb that you had to get over before Reflectiz became viable?
So from technology point of view, that was indeed the biggest challenge because the web is so big, and the idea of creating the one browser that can scan every website around the world in just 10 minutes, that takes time, and we actually solve it today. From the technical point of view, that was the biggest challenge. I think from the sales point of view, or from the growing point of view, is to get that attention. Because there are so many cybersecurity companies, and security officers got spammed with outreach with so many offering of so many solutions. From the business point of view, the biggest challenge is to get the attention. Just ask them, see the platform. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to install anything. See the platform, you will get the value on your own. But to get them to see the value, I can write books about the stuff we are doing in order to do that.
Yeah. So we've talked to a lot of people since the pandemic has started. A lot of people in cybersecurity about how they've seen things change with the threat landscape, or what people are going after. What changes have you seen since COVID-19 has started, and how are you guys adapting to that?
So I think COVID helped a lot for companies like Reflectiz, because the idea of now we can do, you're expected to work from home, and you expect it to be digital. So our clients of us have much bigger needs now, because they sell online, they have third parties all over the place, and they need their online business to work. They can't count on their stores. And for us, as a remote solution, we don't need to install anything, so we don't need to visit them at all. So all of our clients are actually sold by Zoom, so we don't need to do anything but to do Zoom meetings. And so I used to see the people in the square of my computer, but that's enough in order to get us full running and working. So that was good in that area.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did you get your start in cybersecurity? Was it with the IDF or before that? Were you already kind of involved and interested in that?
So actually, even before the IDF, I did a pre-degree during high school in computer science. Then I got hired to the military to do cybersecurity research. And after that, I managed one of the biggest cybersecurity companies in Israel as offensive security team leader and technology leader. And then I actually did all kind of application testing, cybersecurity simulation, penetration testing, everything you can think that you can do as a hacker, as an attacker. And then with all the expertise I got there, it was enough for me to create the baseline with my partners to build this company, to build Reflectiz.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm curious about something. Let's switch gears a little bit. You mentioned third-party code a few times, and I know we kind of want to talk about that, and also fourth-party code, which we were joking beforehand. I mean, I've never even thought about that. Let's start there. What do we mean by fourth-party code?
So take your best bank website around the world. So you're going to your bank and maybe adding your login details in order to get your account details. But what you don't know that behind the scenes, once you log into your best bank website, the bank actually loads a lot of what we are calling third-party applications or digital applications. It's actually pieces of code that the bank didn't create. A third-party vendor create, and can be an analytics tool or some kind of engagement tool or framework, JavaScript frameworks that are loaded from some kind of repository around the world. And the idea that all of this code has been loaded is actually going to your own computer, to your own browser in that case, and running on you. So it has the same access to your data like the bank. It has the same access to your computer for your keyboard, for your mouse typing, like the bank. But because it's a third-party code, the bank don't even know what's going on. I mean, it can try to know, we can ask the vendor to make sure they're writing the code the way they're supposed to do, but it's not technologically supported. So they don't have any ability to monitor the actions of the third parties or to verify that what they are doing is actually what they're supposed to do. And what happened in the last few years, that hackers started to hack companies through the third-party code. So instead of investing a lot of money and effort and to bypass all the security of the bank, why not hack the repository online that no one even remember it exists? Or why not hack a small company that's loading some kind of a nice toolbox or nice pop-up to the site? So the hackers started to hack those websites. We are calling it supply chain attacks or third-party attacks. So inject malicious code through those third-party code, and then they have the same access. So they see the data of the user, they get access to credit card number, they get access for password and usernames without even attacking directly the bank or insurance company or retail, which is the most common breaches today. And we are seeing it actually all over the place.
You know, there was a company we reported on last year. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was somebody big like Sony, where attackers were able to intercept credit card data that customers were using on the site, and they did it by compromising a third-party chat application. So their customer support was provided by this chat service, and by tapping into that, the chat service was being laid on top of every web page that was rendered, and that allowed the attackers to get access to the credit card data. So let's say, and I'm curious because you got a unique standpoint on this since you're the one who's kind of boots on the ground and dealing with it. If you are evaluating an organization's website, so you doing what Reflectiz does, and you identify a vulnerability that's not necessarily in the customer's platform, but in third-party software, what do they do about that? Do they they report that to the third party and just hope it gets fixed, or do they change third parties? What is it that you recommend the customers do?
It really depends on what we just found. So it can be either from remove the third party or change the permissions of the third party. For example, in the example you just gave, I think I know which company was attacked. Remove it from sensitive cases. Remove it from the checkout pages. Remove it from the login details. Keep it on the marketing website. So either remove, change the permissions, or work with the third party in order to get different settings. So many times those third parties actually have ability to control what type of data they are collecting, what type of access they are requesting. So with Reflectiz, you can now have the visibility. So you know exactly what type of data they are taking and where they are sending it. And then you can decide to say, remove, I don't want them to see my, account details, or I don't give them access to the place I have my balance, or my social security number. So with Reflectiz, you know exactly what's going on and can decide if you want to keep it, remove it, or change it to be aligned with your security needs and privacy needs.
So how often on average would you say you're finding problems with the third or fourth party or whoever? I'm thinking it's pretty easy for a company to make a mistake on their own website. You have developers who are a little on the junior side. They make some errors. But when we're leveraging a third party, we always kind of assume, hey, that third party, they've invested in the security infrastructure. It's pretty well protected.
There's your first problem, Don.
Yeah, we assume.
Yeah.
So like, just I know you don't necessarily have specific numbers, but on average, would you say it's like for every 4 vulnerabilities you find, 1 is tied to a third party, something like that?
I will say that almost on a weekly basis, I find a big problem on one of the third parties of the site. Because if an average site have 50 third parties, I only need them to do one big mistake per year per third party in order to have 1 week problem. So because there are so many applications, it's a full-time work for us, and it's open all day long.
Yeah. I was going to say, to me, you have all these different third parties, and they do make our lives a whole lot easier to be able to just not have to reinvent the wheel. Hey, that's already there. I can use it. I can build my platform upon it. But I don't have any control over whether or not it actually gets secure. I just have to kind of use something like Reflectiz to see whether or not there is a problem. Do you think we're going to see a push back toward more homegrown type of roll your own environments where we say, well, we're not going to rely on those because we can't control them. So now we just need to kind of reinvent the wheel, as it were, so that we don't have that problem. You think you're going to see a lot more of that, or are we just going to continue to rely on third parties?
I think it will continue to roll out and actually to double and triple that. That's the way the world is working today. No need to develop it internally. Everything going outsourced, the code itself, the framework, the servers, and the analytics all go outsourced. And I don't think that the answer is to reduce the third parties. I just think that we need to find a solution, and I can claim and reflect this, we are trying to do it, that will allow you to keep speeding up, to keep scaling up with the third parties without hurting the security level and keeping your client data and your data safe.
Yeah, and I think, Daniel, too, I'm thinking of it, you might want that for security to own the whole thing, but the person that's probably writing the check is going to say, well, I can get this for $19.95 a month versus...
There's always this, you got to do that assessment of, is the cost worth the investment,
And to me, it's not even the cost. There's some risk involved, right? Because let's say it's the shopping cart or payment process, right? Well, now you got to be PCI compliant. Right. Yeah. But if you can outsource that fully to a third party where the entire transaction occurs on their infrastructure, then PCI compliance becomes easy, right? Like, that's a big burden for a company to take over. So I agree with you, Don. I don't think third parties are going anywhere. Like that. Yeah. That's essential.
Well, we talked a little bit about the company, and I know you guys have some announcements you're kind of rolling out where people can actually get in there and try it a little bit. How does that work?
So the entire idea of Reflectiz is that we are a remote solution. So the client actually don't need to do anything or almost anything in order to get it work. So what we actually released just 1 month ago is the ability to everyone in the world to go to our website, I guess they are in the credit in the end, you can see our URL, and to sign up and get the full data and a scan on their own website without any configuration or any credit card requirements or obligations. So go to the website, play with the platform, you can see the value for yourself, and if you like it, we can then continue from there.
There you go. And it is reflectiz.com, reflectiz.com. So yeah, definitely go and check it out and yeah, get a free scan. Why not? And find out all the things that are wrong with your site. I'm scared to do it myself because I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss.
That's right.
Until
head in the sand methodology. That's Peter's
until I'm in
motto.
prison, yeah, for something. So, hey, thank you so much, Idan, for taking the time with us today. We appreciate you coming on.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Definitely. All right, well, stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and cover the news from this week on Technado with Don Pizzette.
Welcome to IT Pro TV, an e-learning company with thousands of hours of engaging video training for IT teams, with fresh training courses added daily. What makes IT Pro TV stand out? It all starts with our edutainers, who create better than classroom experiences for training your team will look forward to watching.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for IT Pro TV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
The dashboard is great because you can actually pick up right where you left off. You can also end up seeing new courses that are available to you, and with a membership, you have access to a variety of study tools.
You can follow along with virtual labs and test your skills with practice tests. IT leaders can also take advantage of the Pro Portal to help their team grow.
The IT Pro TV Pro Portal gives leaders the power to manage their investment in IT training. They can assign seats and courses and check in on progress to ensure their outcomes are being met.
And unlike traditional training, you aren't handcuffed to your desk. Sure, you can watch from there or from your couch with Apple TV and Roku apps or from anywhere using mobile apps. The training is even available for download. If you're ready for your team to watch and learn, check out the flexible plan choices online and request a live demo for your business today at www.itpro.tv.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette, and we've got a lot of news to get to on this. It's a holiday week, but you know the hackers they don't take a break.
This is actually when their busy time, right? Because they're like, hey, nobody's there.
I saw Home Alone. I know that, yeah.
We can hack the piss out of people.
You know, so Thanksgiving is traditionally one of the more cybersecurity heavy ones because it is a U.S. holiday, right? It's not a holiday that extends outside of the United States. And so attackers take advantage of that. The Russian hackers, Chinese, you know, they know like, hey, if I want to attack, this is the time where people are off. They're at home.
Is 80% off of a TV not enough? No. On Black Friday, you've got to take 100% off. That's just greedy.
That's just greedy.
All right, well, let's take a look at our first article, which is from bleepingcomputer.com. Windows 10 21H2 is released, and here are the new features. And so I'm surprised there are what you'd call features, because I would think, aren't these just like bug fixes at this point because all the features are coming to Windows 11?
Basically, yes. This is one of these smaller feature releases that have really ever been done for Windows 10, and it shows how Microsoft is winding down Windows 10 development. So a lot of people have that on their mind right now. How much longer is Windows 10 going to be supported for? Microsoft has repeatedly said that Windows 10 will continue to be supported through the year 2025. So
that's a while.
Yeah, you still got another 3 or 4 years available if you want to stay with Windows 10 before you have to move. But they are making some changes. I guess first off, the features, right? So the only real new feature here is if you're a WSL user, so the Windows subsystem for Linux, they added the ability to use GPU processing in WSL2. If you don't use WSL2, none of the other features really matter. So like there was a little tweak to WPA3 and a couple little things, not terribly exciting. There are some security fixes, so that's basically
What kind of subhuman wouldn't be using WSL2, Don?
Madness, right?
Yeah, I know.
I don't use it. So
Over here. Yeah.
I prefer WSL1 for a couple other reasons.
I do as well.
Yeah. But either way, what is big, though, is they've made the announcement that they are no longer going to do the twice-a-year feature updates. Instead, they're going to a once-a-year cycle. So while it is supported until 2025, you'll likely only see maybe 2 more of these annual large updates, kind of going back to the old. Remember way back in NT in 2000, you had the service packs?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like going back to the service pack. Once a year, you get blasted with this gigantic update.
I was going to say it's updates light. half the calories of original updates.
Yep.
But security-sensitive patches will still happen as needed.
Yeah, and eventually, probably next year, we'll get to the point where there's no new features coming into Windows 10, just security updates.
Right.
So,
like you said, it's just because they're ramping down support for this and trying to. Have you moved to Windows 11, or you run that? What's your take on that so far?
So I'm a little annoyed by the changes to the taskbar because the taskbar has kind of been the same for 20 years, and now they change things, and I have to change with it, which is annoying.
Always been my major complaint with Windows. They're like, you know what we need to do? Move everything so that all those muscle memory kind of stuff that you're just like, oh it's not there anymore.
To me, they've kind of rendered the start button useless. Like when you bring it up, everything is such a mess in there. It's hard to find things, so it's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's Windows 10. So not any big difference. The number one feature I like, which is a silly thing, but you know how when you make a mistake in Windows and it goes ding, you get that alert, which is really annoying. They've changed it to a much more calming, like bloop kind of noise, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's
I don't need my my operating system provoking me to anger.
Yeah.
It's like I really like the concept of a car having two horns, like one for, hey, you cut me off and almost killed my family, and the other for, hey, go ahead.
Yeah, the light is green, and it has been for 55 seconds.
No
now.
rush. I'm not going to get out and shoot you. I just want to let you know.
Finish your text.
I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, finish it. Just so you know, you haven't looked up for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, I had somebody almost hit me this morning on the way to work. I was like,
that was me.
Just cruising, and all of a sudden this car is like coming over. I'm like, whoa. And he looked at me like, what's your problem, buddy? I'm like, well, you almost ran me into the guardrail here.
Don't Teslas have that with the multiple horns or different sounds and things, or is that just to switch your horn overall? Because I've seen like the droid noises.
So I looked into. I always wanted to put like a sound system that points out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have like a hey buddy move it, or just be able to say hey the light's green.
Excuse me.
Like, apparently that's against the law.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You can't have a built-in system in your vehicle that is for projecting sound outside. I thought it'd be really cool to have like a machine gun sound.
Oh, that's not good.
People would be like,
even I can see the problems with that.
Florida man arrested.
Yeah, because they're going to shoot back.
Yeah. How did this man get riddled with bullets?
Yeah.
Well, he had this cool thing in his car.
Yeah, why does he not have any shell casings at his car? Did he miss them on every shot? No, he was not actually shooting. All right. Good idea. That's a good project to work on. We can do a video of how you
it'll be fun.
created this like little Raspberry or something in your car.
At the end, it's just my gravestone.
Yeah, with the code on it, so anyone can take it. All right, our next article comes to us from TechCrunch.com. Beginning next year, Apple will send you parts and tools to fix your iPhone and Mac at home. And so, to me, when I read this, I just imagine I'm just going to get like a Ziploc bag full of just like 1,000 little screws and things. And they're just going to go, fine, you want to do it? There you go. Figure it out. Is that essentially what's happening?
Yeah. A little bit different, right? So Apple's been under a lot of pressure for the right to repair movement that's going on, and many vendors have, but Apple's kind of the big guilty one because their phones are near impossible to fix on your own, and they've been doing some pretty shady things, the most recent of which was if you replace your screen, well, apparently there's some software application that's a part of the phone that registers the screen, and if you replace yours, it won't register it, which means you lose some functionality and your warranty is voided if you repair your screen. So Apple's been taking some heat from that, and they've decided to finally respond. And so they're doing two things. They're a little bit light on the details, but what they've announced so far is one, they will now sell parts direct to the customer. So if you want to buy a replacement screen, you can buy it directly from Apple, which is nice because you're getting an authentic one, not some knockoff from China. You're
like
getting
OEM,
yeah.
You're not getting a knockoff from China. You're getting a real one from China.
The real one from China,
right?
Yeah,
which oftentimes is the same, but sometimes they are lower quality, whatever. You just can't necessarily trust from the sourcing. But so that's one thing. And then the second thing is they're actually going to provide the tools to make the change, right? Now, that's nice. They send you the right tools. You've got the right part. You should be able to repair your phone. They haven't announced if they're doing the same for laptops and desktops yet, but I suspect they will because those are actually easier to repair. But they also have not announced any kind of pricing yet. So all of this goodwill could really be thrown by the side if you order a replacement screen and the replacement screen in the toolkit costs $500.
Yeah.
And a new phone costs $500, so we'll have to see where it
screen's $10. The screwdriver is $27,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is all going to launch in early 2022, so in the next 4 or 5 months, we should have the answer to those questions.
Well, it won't be a problem for me because I don't use iPhones. So,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Like, vote with your wallet, people. If you don't like the way Apple is doing things, or if they come out with this thing and you think, oh, great, finally, and it is that whole, hey, this is really expensive model, you might as well just get a new phone anyway, go to a different provider, right? Show them that you're not interested in that type of service.
Apple's certainly not the only one doing this,
It's
right?
true, but
Samsung, remember when they did the curved edge on their phone?
Yes.
The curved edge was stupid. It didn't contribute in any way, but what it did do was make the screens near impossible to replace. And very, because they can't flex at all. You can't. You have to remove them in a very sensitive way. You got to use a heat gun.
Yep.
Yeah, but it also changed the blast radius, and when the phones exploded, it went out as opposed to just.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
That was all about.
It's more of a shaped charge.
Yeah. It was all about limiting the shock wave or something, is what I read.
Listen, we want a directional blast. Front toward enemy is what they put on the.
There you go.
Like the Claymore mines. Yeah.
If you put your Samsung phone in your pocket, make sure a screen out.
That's
every
right.
time.
You want it to go that way.
Microsoft Surfaces, same way. A lot of devices these days are hard to repair, and there is a trade-off, right? If you want a really thin, small device with like a high sensitivity touchscreen or something you can draw with the stylus, repairability is going to go down. Like that's true. Those components are just like that. So people kind of have to make that choice.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Apple wasn't like. It wasn't the problem wasn't that their device was not repairable. It's that they did not allow you to repair it.
Yes,
that was the issue, and that is the issue we're talking
you would lose your warranty.
They would void your warranty at the drop of a hat.
That's the problem. Yeah. So it's difficult to repair, but at least I had the option to try, right, with other vendors. With Apple, they're like 9.
See, the problem is I can't vote with my wallet because I have the Apple Wallet. I don't have a choice.
Does Apple have its own cryptocurrency yet?
No, not that I know of.
It won't be long. They'll come out with their own cryptocurrency, and it's like, we only accept Apple Coin.
Oh,
I'm somewhat surprised they haven't.
Don't give many ideas if they haven't thought of that.
Dude, they're all, trust me.
iCoin.
Yeah, iCoin, yeah.
Because we all know Tim Cook listens to this.
That's Tim Cook. He's over there going, oh, I didn't even think about that. Thanks, Daniel. Jeez.
All right, let's take a look at our next article, which is from a source we don't typically go to, searchengineland.com. Twitter rolls back AMP support, no longer sends users to AMP pages. And so I got to say, I'm actually not familiar with that term, but
really?
What is a Twitter?
Not the bowling alley, AMP, right?
So I'm somewhat surprised. I threw this article in because it's something that I'm passionate about, but you guys don't know what AMP pages are, and I'm surprised. So let's start with that. So AMP it stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and it's something that Google introduced several years ago that they announced it as, hey, this will make the web better. But in reality, what it did is it gave Google an extra level of control over people's browser experience, regardless of what browser they used. The idea was that if you're on a mobile device and you go to a web page, you don't need really big pictures. You don't need fancy JavaScript because a lot of that stuff isn't going to work on the phone anyway. So they introduced a protocol that would let websites render a different web page when you were on mobile. And you guys have probably experienced this where you go to a web page and all of a sudden your navigation buttons disappear and your address bar disappears and you get a gray bar at the top which has its own back button. You're like locked into this crazy world.
Locked into this crazy
where am I?
It's frustrating as hell.
We are down the rabbit hole.
Don't take away my navigation buttons. Like that's it's a dick move is what it is. That's right. So, but what happened was Google, they're the ones.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I know. I am passionate about this one because I hate AMP so much. Like, it's just terrible. It doesn't contribute anything really to us, right? Almost every web page out there is responsive, so it'll render fine on mobile. You don't need AMP to do it. But Google wanted it done because Google controlled it. When you create an AMP page, Google actually caches the elements of that AMP page. So when you go to a search engine or Google News or whatever and click a link, it's actually rendering your page from their cache, not even from your server. So you don't get like hits on your server. You can't track user access anymore. You're reliant on Google to provide it to you.
And that's the way they like it.
So when they first announced it, people ignored it because that's stupid, right? But then Google said, oh, by the way, if you want to be in the top of the search list, you got to have an AMP page.
Oh.
And
so you know what that tells me? It tells me that they find that very important for them to be able to control what it is, right? Like,
it doesn't sound like Google.
They want your browser. They want you to use Chrome. But if you don't use Chrome, if you use Safari or Firefox or Brave or whatever,
Well, you go to an AMP page, now they get that same control. They've locked you in. So it's bad. It's bad for the internet. Even one of the original creators of AMP has come out and said, like, this is not good. The way Google is doing it is not right. This is not what I intended it to be. Well, Google finally announced that they were going to relax the rules on top-rated websites requiring an AMP page, especially on their news service. And overnight, companies have started turning that off. Well, Twitter just announced they are turning off AMP support on Twitter. In fact, I think it's already rolled out across the whole site. It looks like LinkedIn is following suit. And so if, like me, you've been super frustrated by AMP, it looks like the end is in sight. It looks like 2022 will be the end of AMP.
All right, finally, we're telling a story about chucking some dirt on AMP.
Yes. Yeah.
That we didn't even know about.
Technology didn't know about.
Yeah.
But I mean, have you experienced pages like that though?
So yeah, I mean that makes sense. I play around with changing my user agent a lot, which looking for differences in websites between different user agents and vulnerabilities therein. So yeah, I experience that when I go to a mobile user agent on my browser. You'll get a different experience. It'll look different. You go to the mobile page instead of the regular page. But correct me if I'm wrong, there's also like mobile pages that aren't AMP pages, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you go to one of our pages,
right.
they're responsive. They render appropriate for a phone.
Right.
So you don't need AMP.
But that's why we don't show up in Google.
Right.
And the original argument was, well, we lower the quality of pictures so the pages load faster and they load out of our cache. But everybody's got 5G or whatever, and so it's nice and fast. I've actually gone the extent of I run a third-party application on my phone that intercepts AMP links. And so I have an iPhone. So anytime I hit an AMP page, it actually redirects me to the regular page. And today, well, depending on when this podcast is released, but today we're filming. So my 3-day history, 222. It's called Amplosion is the name of the program. So there have been 222 Amplosions on my phone. That's how pervasive this stuff is.
See, I just use links and stick in IRC chat rooms. And
there you go.
I'm good to go.
I feel like, I mean, if that's, assuming that's not 100% of the pages you visit a lot of pages in 3 days.
You do on your phone.
I read a lot of news.
Dude, I don't know how people browse on their phone, bro.
Because what percentage of pages would you say were AMP pages?
Well, many of those will be a page that I go to repeatedly.
Okay.
So, like, if you go to Google News and you click on an article, right, it might send you to CNN or Fox News. They all have AMP, and so every time you're clicking on an article, that would be one of those hits.
What I learned here is Don has a problem.
Somebody's got to stay up to date, otherwise this podcast has nothing to talk about.
That's true. Yeah,
we're going to talk about Scrooge McDuck if you.
We'll get back into that's next week, right?
Yeah, that's it. All right. That's it. Don, you're out next week? Yeah, Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck time.
Talk about his lucky dime.
Oh, man.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got to get a Scrooge McDuck sound on the.
You don't know what AMP is, but you know what the lucky dime is.
Darn right.
Yeah.
Darn right. I do.
Stuff's important.
Because that, right. See, thank you. Peter gets it.
Woo. All right. Well, let's take a look and see this week who got pwned.
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
Yeah!
All right. And I'm not sure exactly who got pwned in this one. But GoDaddy.
Yeah.
Security breach exposes WordPress users' data. So I guess it wouldn't be GoDaddy was pwned. The WordPress users were pwned.
So you are correct. The WordPress users were pwned, but it's GoDaddy's fault.
Right.
So GoDaddy, most people, when you think of GoDaddy, you think of a domain registration company.
Oh,
right?
That's what I was to say. Like naked ladies.
I think of completely inappropriate commercials.
Yes.
That was how they got their start, right? You could register your domain name with GoDaddy, but over the years they've expanded out. So they do web hosting, email hosting. They have tons of security services and other things. They've acquired several companies like Securi, which is a platform that does.
Are they on Securi?
They own security. Yeah. They protect WordPress pages and stuff from attacks like this. So the challenge here is that they, as part of their hosting service, they offer rapid deployment of services. So if you want a Drupal server, you can just go to GoDaddy and click a button, and now you got a Drupal server. If you want WordPress, you go to GoDaddy, you sign up, click a button, now you got a WordPress server. So that's what they do. And they provide you, in theory, a secure deployment that is properly configured to security best standards. Well, unfortunately, one of their employees was a little loosey-goosey with their password, and they had a compromised credential, which also means that GoDaddy's not using two-factor authentication or other protection mechanisms with their own employees, and that allowed an outside actor to get in and compromise all of their WordPress customers. So,
Man, I'll tell you right now, if I owned a company that was on the internet, which is like 100% of companies nowadays, I would, if you're going to log in, you're going to have two-factor. I'm going to force you.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that. You can't log in. We do two-factor here because I don't want to stand before a judge and go, well, here's the thing, Your Honor. You're going to laugh. Bob over here was just, his password policy wasn't as great as it should be. And, that's why we're here today.
Yeah, if you've got sensitive data that can be exposed and an attacker's able to get in with simple credentials, that's a problem, especially with the amount of password reuse that's out there.
Oh, we love password reuse.
Oh, it's the best.
It's so easy.
It's the easiest.
Yeah.
Now, when I first read this, I was actually a little frustrated because they said that
Don can't read.
They said that the attack was detected on September 6th. So here we are,
6th.
well over a month beyond that, and we're just now hearing about it. That's a violation of a number of different regulations that are out there. But it turns out that was a mistake, so it was kind of, I guess, fake news, or they retconned it or something.
Yeah.
So now they're saying that it was discovered on November 17th, which is actually much more recent. Yes. And so the disclosure window is a little more appropriate.
Well, that's good.
All right, makes sense. So anything we need to do? I mean, change your password.
For WordPress users and GoDaddy.
I can give some advice on this because when we launched IT Pro TV years and years ago, it was actually a WordPress site. And so I happen to know WordPress pretty intimately and understand some of the security concerns around it. I'll tell you, if you're going to use a hosting provider, don't use a generic hosting provider like DigitalOcean, Media Temple, GoDaddy. They provide tons of different services. They're not WordPress experts. Right. So if you're going to go with a hosted WordPress solution, pick somebody who specializes in it, like WP Engine or Pagely, I think is another one. There's a couple of them that are out there. They specialize in WordPress. And so they're going to follow proper security practices. They understand that platform really well. Find somebody who specializes.
I don't know if this statistically holds up, but I know that statistically 40% of the internet sites are WordPress sites.
Yeah.
If that holds true to how much GoDaddy has exposed their users, 40% of GoDaddy users would be exposed at this point, right?
In theory, yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. They actually did put out some numbers on it. 1.2 million active and inactive managed WordPress customers.
Well, that's not much, right?
So in that inactive part, like if you have launched a WordPress instance on GoDaddy and even disabled your account afterwards, your data was compromised. Yep.
Nice.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Well, this next one is a Who Got Pwned as well. Don, you said it's a little bit more...
A little more dough.
A little more dough.
Do I just have the dough? Just Homer saying dough?
Dough!
I do. Okay, there you go. All right, so this one is from /dot.org. Thousands of Firefox users accidentally commit login cookies on GitHub. And when we say accidentally, the accident, again, in this case, was not necessarily theirs. It was Firefox's.
So this is actually not GitHub or Firefox's fault. This is the user's fault.
Okay.
User screwing up. Now, Daniel, I learned a new term reading through this, which was a dork.
A dork, yeah.
And so
a dork, like one word.
I'm surprised. I would have thought you would know. Well, I didn't know AMP, and you didn't know dork. We're all learning new things today.
I knew dork like the way I used it in elementary school, right? But I did not realize that was a security term. So can you, for the cybersecurity illiterate like myself, apparently, can you define what the hell a dork is?
Yeah, so basically a dork, typically you'll hear it within the realm of Google dorks, but GitHub has their own dorks, and any search engine capability where you can kind of like understand the advanced functionality behind their search engine and how you can work with that, utilizing that to your advantage of finding specific things, typically something that you know to be vulnerable. So I'm going to use GitHub's search engine to craft a specific search for a specific thing, which has a known vulnerability behind it. That would be a dork, right? So I want to use those advanced functions to see, hey, I'm looking for sites that have, SQL injections or any kind of sensitive data exposure that would allow me to just look through the search engine and go, here are the results. Yay, enjoy. Google Dorks and like these types of things are actually really helpful with finding vulnerabilities.
Well, there have been a couple with GitHub over the years. In fact, AWS was a big one where developers don't always think about security, and sometimes
it's true.
Sometimes make bad decisions around the tools they use. For example, they say, well, hey, if I'm synchronizing all my source code with GitHub, wouldn't it be nice to synchronize my Linux home directory with GitHub as well. And that way, if I go to a new computer, I can just sync my home directory down again.
That's a
right?
mistake.
And so there was a problem where people were syncing their home directory up to public GitHub repos because they figured, what do I care if somebody gets my bash RC file? Yeah. But their AWS private keys were stored in their home directory.
What about the .ssh file that goes in there? Because it's hidden to us. Even think of just being a normal user that runs Linux. .ssh, where you store your keys, is hidden by defaults, even to you, and you might just not think about it, and you're like, oh, just clone this directory up in there.
And so I didn't know that was a dork, but I knew that people could search GitHub and find AWS private keys, and it got so bad that GitHub actually put a filter in place where they will detect if you just synced a private key up or a secret key from AWS, and they'll immediately report you about it. They won't remove it, but they'll send you a notice saying, whoop, you just did this, dummy. And
FYI, you made this public.
Well, a security researcher was poking around in GitHub looking for apparently a new dork. This just makes no sense to me, the name. But so they were looking for a new one, and they found something creative, which was, if you synchronize your home directory up into GitHub, or if you've downloaded some GitHub projects into your home directory and you make a mistake and accidentally sync up your home directory, you might be syncing up your Firefox cookie database. Ooh. And your cookie database, a lot of us think about cookies as just dumb marketing tracking stuff, but it can be session tracking, right?
Shot across the bow over there.
And so if you synchronize your Firefox cookie database up, an attacker could find that if it's public, download it, and potentially hijack sessions for you.
So it's so funny. Yeah, right. This is classic session hijacking. As an attacker, I want cookies, because cookies typically have your token in there that are saying, this is you and this is your session. As long as this cookie is valid, anybody that has this is you effectively and can do all the things you can do. So session hijacking through things like cross-site scripting and CSRF and whatnot is always on the table and looked for because of this.
So the security researcher took this to GitHub and reported it, and GitHub said, hey, it's a problem, but it's not our problem. That's the user's mistake syncing it up. So there's not much we can do, and we're not going to pay it on the bug bounty. That's just how it is. It's not a bug. So the researcher said, well, can I announce this to the public? And they said, yeah, go wild. So that's what he did. He announced it out, so people are aware of it now. But he really felt strongly. I say he. I don't know if it was a man or woman or whatever, but Idan Marlin, Aidan. Aidan could go either way on a name one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyhow, so Aidan, I'll just use the proper noun.
There you go.
So Aidan was pretty passionate about it and really felt that GitHub should go the extra mile of putting in a filter the same way they do with AWS secret keys to look for this Firefox cookie database. But there's got to be a line somewhere, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's some validity to his philosophical argument
there,
right? That we want to create a more secure ecosystem at large, right? That we all should be contributing wherever we can. If they can do something like they did with the previous dorks that they found, and just say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you've made this public. If that, maybe that's too much, it does cost money. You got to get people to get involved, but you are therefore contributing to the increased security of the world at large, which is nice to do, and it makes people want to trust GitHub more, right? We saw this with Amazon, right? Because before, when you made an S3 bucket or you made some, group or whatever, it would be public, and now they default to going into security and going, if you want to opt out of that, that's great. But we're going to start you off in security, and you just got to kind of turn those boats around so that they are. And I'm surprised that they wouldn't go for this.
Well, so here's my kind of take on it. The other side of it is GitHub certainly could protect from that.
Yeah.
But what does that do for the people that use GitLab instead? Right?
Yeah.
Or any of the countless other code repositories that doesn't do anything for them. Yeah. Right. So it's a bit of a false solution saying, well, GitHub's going to solve this problem for me, because really it's the user that needs to solve the problem. We've got to train developers to not do dumb things like that.
It's training.
I think of it as like nickels and dimes, right? Nickels and dimes add up to dollars, right? So it's these little tiny things that we can do that end up adding up aggregately to a more secure world. Not that we can make the user do the right thing, but we can sure as heck kind of guide them and focus them more toward better security. And hopefully that will make them think as they do things more. Once it becomes normalized that that's how you do stuff, if we just made two-factor authentication normal, like no one would think anything of it, right? They would just do it because that's how you log in.
Yeah. Do you remember, we'll walk down memory lane here, Daniel, because it was a long time ago. You and I worked at an insurance company together.
Yeah, we did.
And the development manager come to me and said, we need to look into two-factor authentication. I said, great, I love it. Let's do it.
Make it happen, Kevin.
And so we ordered like 60 RSA secure ID tokens. I set up the Active Directory server to tie it together. We started issuing them to people to try out. And after a 2-month window, and this was a long time ago. This would have been 2005,
6.
Yeah. So at the end of the little 2 or 3 month pilot window that we did, we had a sit-down meeting, the CIO, me, a couple other people, and ultimately decided not to do two-factor authentication. And
because it was too hard.
People didn't want to wait 60 seconds, or like there was somebody
to get their code. Or
somebody actually said this, like, what do I do if I look and it's only 5 seconds before the code expires? I'm like, well, just wait 5 seconds. A new code comes up. I'm like, well, I don't want to wait 5 seconds. Yeah, let's just not do this.
Yeah.
So
how about no factor authentication?
So that's the problem, right? Is that they get to have the input. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship when it comes to IT security. We are in control of what you do because that's the secure thing to do. And like it or not, that's how it needs to be done. We are, you're going to get real fascistic here real quick. You're going to be like, we do this for the greater good, right? You must comply.
Doesn't sound like the Daniel I know.
I know. Well, when it comes to an organization, this isn't a country, right? This is not controlling the people, it's controlling users inside of a very controlled environment. The more freedom we give you in those spheres, more likely it is that you're going to make a mistake.
Well, I like the idea of what Don said of put the things up there by default. You can turn them off if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But for the people that don't, there's a lot of people that just didn't understand what they were doing when they uploaded these Firefox cookies.
And what's really the alternative to something like using two-factor? I mean,
3.
Is there? I'm trying to think of what's the better alternative.
Even with like two-factor and all that, if you flag your GitHub repo as public, right? I mean, that's the first problem. And developers used to do that because the public ones were free,
right?
And the private ones you had to pay for, right? So they would just say, make it public.
Yeah.
So even if you had authentication turned on, like if somebody's getting your session token, it's already too late at that point, right?
That's true.
So that's one possible solution, but you got to put a whole big security.
You do.
Together.
And that's why cybersecurity is such it's a dumpster fire, and it is because it's difficult. Right? It's so complex. It's so crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've hit the 15-minute mark on this article.
I know. I'm on a rant here, but I'll just wrap up by saying, like, the more we normalize security best practices, the more normal it will become. Right? That's just how it's going to work. So, GitHub, one small step for man. Right?
Yeah.
Come on,
dork.
Yeah.
I like that was the article that Don didn't want to do today. And I was like 15 minutes talking about that. But all I can say is I am so ready to get into my mom's cookie vault after all. Like there was a point where like you said cookies like 20 times in a minute, and I was
Everybody
like,
likes
yes,
cookies.
Yes, I cannot wait.
They named it aptly, didn't they?
It's the right time.
Do I
of
want
year.
cookies? Hell yes.
Giant metal tin of butter cookies.
Yeah,
dude. Those little shortbread cookies with the whatever in the middle, like the fruit.
You mean the sewing kit that you open?
Yeah, the sewing kit.
Yeah. It's never actually cookies. And one day it was cookies.
One day.
But I think, yeah. All right, well, want to let you know, staying in this holiday spirit, the 12 Days of IT is getting underway very soon. It starts on next Monday. The first unboxing will happen. I believe Don does that one. We won't give away what it is yet. Yeah, you're number one. You're number one. And we've got 12 different unboxings, and you can register to win any of those prizes. Head over to itpro.tv/12days, and you can see how all that works. You can actually just put in your email there, and you're set to go to enter for winning all those. We're going to do YouTube Live on December 10th. That's a Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where we announce those winners. You don't have to be present to win, but why not? It's going to be a good time. Also, want to let you know about the next webinar coming up from IT Pro TV, Most In-Demand Jobs, IT Jobs for 2022, preparing for your next career opportunity. That is Thursday, December 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It's with Ronnie Wong and Bridget Scrogram, who is on our... What is her
She's
role?
a learning designer.
Learning design,
like, or instructional design.
Yeah, she's over at the Jacksonville Learning Hub for ACI. So she'll be here in the studio for that one on Thursday, December 9th. So you can head over to itpro.tv/webinars to register for that one as well. And then we'll have, I think that's the only one we're doing in December, but we have a few great ones that we're planning to start the year off with a bang in January. And then finally, head over to technado.com. You can send us your feedback. Let us know what kind of cookies you want to see exposed, like the little ones with the Hershey's Kiss on them, or the black and white cookies.
Yes, my mind just went. You said start off with a bang. I think we should do the next Tech Day, or at least one in the new year at the gun range.
Oh, wow.
And just do the Technado there. We'll shoot some targets, punch some paper, have a good time, and that would be fun.
That could be cool. Hey, we were talking about black and white cookies the other day. Do you remember, like, at Publix, they used to actually be like a black cookie and a white cookie together, and now it's just like icing. Do you remember the old black and white cookies?
Oh, I don't remember the old one. I remember the icing.
Vaguely, yeah.
They were so good.
They were so good.
All right, well, technado.com.
Wasn't there a Seinfeld episode about that?
The marble rye.
No, there was a black and white
there's
cookie
a black and white
episode.
cookie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he talked about the harmony and how it
Yes.
reflects society. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I went off on the marble rye, but you're right. That's a good one, too. My boss is going to get mad if I don't mention this last part. There's a big orange button in the corner that says... What does it say? Sponsored by ITPro TV, I think. Yeah, click on that, and you can get a 30% off coupon code for the lifetime of your personal plan. She's in Italy right now, and she will still listen to this to make sure that I did the pitch.
Said that.
Yeah, so that's why we'll have
miss you, Peter.
one listener from Italy this week. And click that. Get a team trial maybe too. Get one of those. That'd be fun. I'm already on vacation mode. And check out all that great stuff from IT Pro TV.
Yeah, click things.
Yeah, click things.
Yeah, sign up.
Just click anything.
We won't make you 2FA.
That's the lesson I think from this show. Just click anything.
Yeah. Check out our new AMP page.
Yeah. Don is blocking. Yeah. Do we have
and our GitHub repository full of.
We don't have an AMP page, and the reason was it like breaks all sorts of like the heat mapping and stuff that Aaron does. All that would be broken.
Plus, it's bullcrap.
It is. True.
Yeah, it wouldn't let us monitor you, the user, in the same way. So. No good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much to Idan for joining us from Reflectiz. Check them out. And thank you guys. And I hope you guys have a happy and healthy and safe Thanksgiving.
Hey, because it's you.
Because it's me what?
Because Don is the only one that gets that joke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right. We'll see you guys next week on Technado with Don Bissett.